crime is one of the pivotal areas. You were Minister of National Security, so the issue of the port must have disturbed you as far as what goes on down there and the lax accountability and the avenue for a lot of crime. How do you see us solving this?
I'm telling you, you put the army, your army, instead of being Chagaramos, you put them at various points in your country.
There are some who argue that the army has already been infiltrated. There are some who argue that the army has already been infiltrated.
Let me put it this way. I don't think the army has been infiltrated to the point that the police service has been. And therefore, there's still some hope. In your army and your coast guard, you put coastal stations, you declare your assets. You also say that in terms of the I said to them, put a magistrate court in the remand yard. Justice on time, all over the place, hustling on, pushing off the road.
That's an outrageous.
Why don't you put the court in the remand yard?
Yes, that situation
and
is
try more, of course, persons there that had them all over the place. And I'm saying have night court. You have night court, therefore you have. This country has over 500,000 cases. This country.
But a backlog of up to 13 and 14 years.
That's correct. There is no way.
And this is remand we're talking about.
That is correct. There is no way in our collective lifetime this case will be tried.
No way.
And therefore you have to find mechanisms to fast track it. And therefore that's what we are saying. And the list goes on and on. I mean that is for crime. The other one, of course, we're dealing with is agriculture. We say, of course, have a seed bank with a focus to preserve local stock. We are saying, of course, to aggressively increase access roads so that people could bring out their produce and so on. We are saying that you also have to establish community-based farms, and these farms will produce foods that are viable and sustainable. We also say have an insurance for the farmers, where the farmers, in case of flood and things and so on, the insurance can take care of themselves. We are also making the point that you have to revitalize the coconut industry. The coconut industry, look, Rennie, we have reached a point where we are surviving only on oil and gas. There was a time when this country had a good agricultural base. Where is our coconut industry? You drive to Manzanilla, on both sides of the road, the trees are dying. Nobody is concerned. At one point in time, the cocoa industry in this country was the best in the world. The best in the world. The guys used to come here for our cocoa, for chocolate and so on. Today, where's the cocoa industry?
Is there no cognizance to the need to diversify the economy, you think, or is it because by importing it's creating avenue for more people to make money? I mean, what's the justification for the neglect in your view?
The neglect is simply because the government, I'm talking about particularly this one who has said, the government believes that they will have more, I'm going to put it carefully, they'll have more avenues for kickback. Right? If they go to the oil and gas and they do some high projects. Agriculture is something that takes time. Agriculture also too doesn't have the same level of kickback as other areas.
As other areas, yes. Let me just remind our callers, we are not taking calls just yet. We will. I see the phones are lit all the time. We are not taking calls just yet. We are getting a foundation set up, and if we have the time, we will take those calls. We will attempt, of course, to get it to you. You highlighted 2 of 5. I asked you. One was crime. One is agriculture.
Going to education. We say that, of course, we have to change the syllabus at the schools. For example, Rennie, the child who goes to school in Martlot has the same syllabus as the child in Woodbrook. Now, the two things are different. The child in Martlot lives on the sea, on fishing, on the boat and so on. His curriculum must be different from the guy who's in Woodbrook.
His experience is different.
That is correct. And we are saying, therefore, that's the first case. We are saying, too, that you have to expand our OJT program, as you have it now, but also include an employment placement agency. So when these guys finish at 2 or 3 years as well, this agency then gets them employment as such. We are also saying that we have to put a tax incentive for small businesses that provide early childhood facilities for more than 20 children. Businesses must be able to do this for more than 20 children, and they give them a tax break for this. We also make the point that we would develop, design, and incorporate an e-learning platform where people can use computers more effectively for delivering primary and secondary school-based subject matter. Today, the Prime Minister gives out computer. And I mean, it's so vulgar. It comes like $5,000 a person for hearty foods. But you give computers, and the people don't have Wi-Fi where they live in.
So what is the sense of having it if you don't have access?
You go Kumuto, Toko, San Grande, and there's no Wi-Fi. So what's the purpose of giving them the computers?
The voice that you're hearing is that of Mr. Jack Warner. He is the founder and the political leader of the ILP. We are talking about the 5 points in the absence of the manifesto being available hitherto now. He's highlighting for us the 5 points, 5 pivotal points in the manifesto. So we've done crime, touched on agriculture and education.
We go to transport. Now, transportation, as you know, is a burden here. We lose more man hours on the road than ever before.
Yes.
Let me give this a simple thing that we're saying. We are saying to take the priority bus route and Eastern Main Road. We are saying from 6 to 9, make the priority bus route one way northbound, and make the Eastern Main Road one way eastbound.
Okay.
So that's not westbound and eastbound. So you priority bus route one way westbound, the from 6 to 9 and 3 to 6. Do away with this foolishness about any minister giving you a bus pass and so on, and you have to get a bus pass from a minister, and you even give it because you're PNM or you're ILP. That must be finished. The roads are built with taxpayers' money, and therefore all citizens must use our roads. There must be anything for what person be denied of our roads. So we're saying do away with that and let the priority bus route comes in. Then we are saying we're having a bus-only lane in many of the roads to facilitate a new express bus service.
A bus only, most of the roads can barely take 2 vehicles if you put a...
But you can build bus lanes.
I see.
You can build bus lanes, because I have checked myself. Look, when you go down to the when you look at any one of the highways, for example, anyone, between the northbound and southbound is a a big piece of land there. Use that. Nothing is wrong about that.
You're saying to expand the width of the roads,
that is correct,
and create a bus lane.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we are saying also too, we introduce carpooling. You have to also use carpooling and give people incentive to carpool.
That's right. You must have the incentive there.
Travel there, one person in a car going to power speed.
What do you feel about tolls for, just a question, tolls for people who are traveling one person in a car?
Well, I have no. I mean, our party didn't think about that. But
because if you put an incentive, you have to get a disincentive.
That is correct. You are right. Right. You are correct, and I believe that, of course, you should do that as well. And last but not least, you have to modernize the public transportation hubs. You should be able to sit on your phone, on your thing, and see what time the bus is coming. I know you say this thing, but I know we have to do it. I mean, we have to do that.
Well, the only reason I chuckle is not because it's ridiculous what you're saying. I only chuckle because before you arrived here, I spoke with the president of the Transport Industrial Workers Trade Union, who's telling me we have a fleet of 500 buses and only 200 is working because the others can't find parts for it.
That is correct. You're right, because they bring bus one government bring from China, another government bring from Brazil, another government bring from Russia, and then they have a contractor who building houses and building roads as opposed to building buses. I mean, it is scandalous, and this is what happens.
Staying on transportation, the idea of the PNM to put a rapid rail, that is not something that appeals to you as part of the solution to this traffic nightmare you speak of?
When I was Minister of Works and Transport at the time, Kamala Prasad, Biss's government, had considered a rapid rail.
And this was on the continuation of an exploratory study that the PNM did? Is this the same one?
That is correct. That is correct. And then we had sent it to a committee to study, to see how it can be brought in effectively in shortest possible time. After she split the ministry and she took away transport, it went before Devant Maraj. And he too was pushing it aggressively. And that is where it is at the moment. So to say that this is a PNM idea, and this is an idea which we inherited from the PNM.
So you're not adverse to having a rapid rail?
At all.
I see. Okay.
At all. At the end of the day, that for me is the ultimate solution.
I think so too, yes. Okay, so we've got 4. I just need one final one to understand.
Let's take housing.
Housing, oh right. Yes. That's why don't you just run a lottery? It seems to be the easy way. I'm being funny.
No, but a lottery is not.
I am being funny, Mr. Warner.
Let's take the easy part first. We are saying we to use a rent assessment board. Landlords today charging people rent that are ridiculous.
Yes.
Living in some homes that they don't even maintain or keep and so on. And therefore we are saying bring that board back and make sure that the board can function effectively and so on.
You are saying we don't have an existing rent assessment board?
No, we don't. We are saying also to prepare and deliver deeds for the agency mortgage within 12 months. People have agency homes for 12 years. They have gotten the deed as yet. at all, and therefore they can't even go to the bank to get a loan to do renovation and so on. We said 12 months is the minimum. That must change. We say also too that the government must stop building houses. What the government must do is develop the infrastructure, give people infrastructure, and give people loans, let them build their own homes. And therefore, of course, you'll have a whole host of artisans coming forward, because you'll build your house, you have your own mason, you have your own carpenter, you have your own painter and so on, and therefore now you have this thing, and the houses will be built cheaper, more cheaply, and believe me, better.
But it's just a question for you, and of course I applaud any effort to alleviate this housing madness, because the cost of rent is prohibitive. It's just unbelievable. But would it be a workable solution, I ask of you, to have small contractors because the only way you can do this, I think effectively, I am suggesting, is that it must be done orderly, which is to say you bring together all small contractors with a mandate to hire people in their area.
Absolutely perfect.
Is that not a better way than to give out the money to everybody, because then you're looking for a whole set of madness?
But in any event, you can have a combination of the two.
Okay.
Right? But the fact is, what happens now, you have three contractors
Yes.
who build all houses in this country for billions of dollars. You tell me, a guy who gets an HGC house for $700,000, our houses are supposed to be affordable. And therefore we are saying here that no mortgage must be more than $1,000.
All right, but as obtained right now, you've got a list in the offices of the HGC right now that they're taking these names that date back some people say as far back as 10, 15 years ago. And the new solution is to do a lottery, which I think is obscene, is to do a lottery that means a man who comes in today can get something before a man who's been there for 20 years. What would you do with an HGC situation that exists now? I understand your down the road plan, which is to say either bring in the contractors or give it individually to the homeowners and say bring in the local people to work on it. But what do you do with this backlog that's there right now?
You have to take care of those people who came first. You can't have a lottery and the guys who came yesterday are the ones that you consider. It's not fair. And those who came first, you have to take care of them. And I'm saying you have to make sure that you give them the necessary tools by which they could build their homes.
Indeed.
At the end of the day, there is no way the government could build houses for everybody. But the government can make it affordable and easy for people to own their homes.
Let us see. We've got housing, we've got transportation, education, agriculture, and crime. I want to get back to crime in a minute. I do want to ask you that I was hoping would be, and I don't know if it's probably a subheading under your crime area, but this question of the corruption that you articulated, that we are all aware, and there is no body in place to reconcile the income of government workers, ministers included. Nobody to reconcile that with their way of living. What would you do to control that corruption, really?
Before I answer you, I want to say that our chairman had said that we should have a special fraud court. Special fraud court to try for fraud only, white-collar crimes. Because at the end of the day, we believe that white-collar crimes sometimes are more dangerous than the other crimes.
It affects a lot more people.
That is correct. And it is hidden also too from so many people. So that's one. But in terms of the ministers and their ostentation way of life, they will have to show where the money is coming from. They will have to show, and a special committee of the government that is totally independent must be able to verify that these guys have not gotten ill-gotten gains. The point is, Rennie, at this point in time, I can't point to a single minister in government whose way of life is not beyond the salary he's receiving. I can't.
I think a lot of people have expressed that they would be hard pressed to find that too. Jack Austin Warner is the founder and the leader of the ILP. They are contesting. How many seats is being contested in this election?
26
seats. And he believes that he will be pivotal in the formation of the government come September 8th.
I should add to you, Rennie, sorry to
please.
But it is good for the country also. If the country has a situation where no one party has a majority to govern the country, it is best for the country because you have checks and balances in place now that will keep a government whichever government it is, in order.
It is that those checks and balances I want to come to in the area of what we're talking about, corruption, procurement. I mean, it is unbelievable that this has been. You were right there in the nation's highest house when this was being discussed. Are you happy with what came out?
I am not happy, but if and more so, the fact that the bill itself has not been what do you say again, being proclaimed as yet.
Yes, promulgated. So the president has not seen it. Yes,
not seen it yet. So after the horse bolted the stable, then the bill may come to life. Of what value is that? Every single contract that we have in this country in the last 5 years, I'm going to talk very slowly for you now. Every single contract we have had in this country over the last 5 years has been bedeviled with corruption, with overpricing, and so on. And therefore, the procurement legislation should have been there long before for a government that had this done as a priority. Right? Now, when the government is leaving office, it says so. But it says so, and even having said so, the act hasn't been proclaimed.
You were convinced the government is leaving office?
Listen, if the government doesn't leave office, this country collapse. If this I say so, no, seriously, if this government is re-elected, this country will collapse. Have you observed the foreign exchange? Did you see any foreign exchange problem in this country before now? You
are one of the eminent voices here and involved in politics and involved in this election coming here. What is your feeling on this foreign reserve shortfall and the suspension by the major bank in the country and so on?
The fact is, the new governor of the central bank does not know what he is doing. He is a political appointee of the worst order. And therefore, I'm making the point to you that when he was appointed by the cabinet in a meeting in Tobago, I objected to him. I had asked for a fellow called Daniel Mahabir, right? They said, no, they want this guy. This guy does not know. And we are, as a country, because of the foreign exchange, businesses are affected. The cost of living is going up. The public are losing confidence in the government as well. And I'm saying, therefore, that to tell me you put an infusion of 100 million US does not even address the question. Republic Bank, despite its denial the following day, Republic Bank, I have a friend, Rennie. I have a friend who went to Republic Bank in Long Circular Road for 35 US. So help my God, and couldn't get it. 35 US. That's where we have reached to. This was unheard of before.
The Central Tenders Board's responsible for all procurement in the country. That's what we talked about just a moment ago. But government contracts does not pass through them. No. What is the monitoring for that? What would you suggest we do? Because a lot of question of wastage and bad deals and kickbacks are argued to be in a lot of those agreements. How do we control this?
The irony is when we were campaigning, I say we know because I was part of that, we were campaigning, we said, and we were very critical of Patrick Manning using Chinese companies because Chinese companies have a history of being corrupt. When we came into office, I stressed and I argued against using Chinese companies. And here we have the Prime Minister and her ministers going now to do the very same Chinese that Manning was using, of which we were critical. They're here. Rennie, let me tell you, that children's hospital was to be built on Pierre Road in Shogunas for $120 million. Out of the blue, the Prime Minister says she built it in Couva on, of course, a fault in the ground, but that's their business. In Couva...
No, was there a fault in the ground?
There is a fault in the ground.
I see, okay.
Well, and you'll hear more about that in a year or two. In Couva for $1.2 billion. Now here you're building a hospital in Couva for $1.2 billion. Why didn't you take that money and upgrade the existing hospitals? In Mount Hope you have a children's hospital. Why didn't you fix that properly? I mean, at the end of the day, to maintain that hospital, just to maintain it, right? It's a fortune.
So you were on the inside. You were saying that anyone coming in, if a new government comes in and decides we need to get some accounting for all of this, we are going to find all these deals laced with kickbacks, and you're saying a lot of people should go to jail. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying a lot of people will go. And the reason why this government is fighting so desperately to win the election is to avoid that situation.
Do you think any party coming in, and in this case it would be the PNM, do you think are you comfortable that there is the resolve? I know you cannot speak to them, but from your observation and your knowledge of politics, you feel there is that resolve to do something like this, hold people and take them in?
Well, the PNM will not be coming in by itself. You see that first of all, and the PM
that is going to be a condition for you.
Comes in with the ILP, you bet your bottom dollar that is the way we are going.
In the United States, and I'm hesitant to use that because you may throw something at me, but in the United States they have a doctrine called executive necessity. Executive necessity is used to void contracts that no longer work in the interest of the public. Some of this graft and corruption we're talking about, if there was such a doctrine here, would allow the incoming government to say, this is an executive necessity. We don't need this, and we void this. And that's part of the understanding in dealing with governments. Is that something doable here?
I hope it is. I'm not aware of it, but I'm quite sure that one could investigate and see. Let me tell you, the BTAM wastewater treatment plant, a foreign company was doing for $700 million. A local company, the government pet contractor, has been given it for $1.6 billion. And the contractor, who can't do it now, subcontract it to somebody else. And then they are doing things now that are totally contrary to every single regulation you have in that thing. I mean, they are putting pipe not under rivers, but blocking rivers. They have formed some fake companies with fake directors to approve the pipe and so on. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous.
And anyone doing an investigation is going to find these things.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact, I repeat, it's in the public domain.
You made a while ago, and talking about what's in the public domain and talking about our inheritance in Trinidad and what is happening with it. When the Chaguaramas deal came up, you were up in arms against this. As a matter of fact, you joined them in the march down there because of you see what is unfair about this. Give us your take on what happened there, what is happening here, and what should be done.
Chaguaramas deal. Eric Williams in April 1960 fought for Chaguaramas, and he fought for it for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. As such, therefore, one would expect that legacy would have been maintained, and also the farmers would have continued with their farming in Guave Road and so on. Up comes this government, and the government decides to give the northern side of the road to Ramhit and Calco, and the southern side to Aboud, and make have to pay to go Chaguaramas. You have to, of course, the farmers have been denied use of their lands and so on, and we are saying, and I should say the PM also are saying, this is wrong. You can't take away the people. This land belongs to the people of this country, and here it is. You have given to three financiers of the government, which is wrong.
The most vulgar part of this, personally, is the part where we are told you're not supposed to know the details of this.
That is correct, and we are fighting up to today to know what the details are. Look, Invaders Bay, just in the back of Movitown, again given away. Nobody knows what the deal is. And this is the people's patrimony. And I'm saying that no country should be governed this way. As such, therefore, I'm making the point to you very clearly that post-election, whatever happens, the ILP will be very vocal in these issues.
You are saying that you are very confident this morning that post-September 7th, the ILP will have at least a member sitting in the parliament and will more than likely be the power broker.
Most definitely. A member or three members, but most definitely. And I'll tell you another thing too. September 7th, this government will not be in power. I could tell you that, unashamedly, this is a fact, because at the end of the day, no country wants to go through for another 5 years the kind of torment and torture that this has gone through in the last 5 years.
You're going to be part of the government that will run this country, which means you're going to have a say. Look at the economy, if you will, and in this area specifically. A lot of the projects that have been initiated will have to be curtailed and or suspended, would it not, with the new reality of the revenue coming in?
I agree. And the first thing one has to do is to do an audit of what you inherit. You have to know what money you have in your treasury. You have to know what is our national debt, for example. And when you know these things, they have an idea to know where you're going. Right now, we don't know what is in the treasury. And you know what, I laugh. I heard the Prime Minister and Munilal being critical of the PM manifesto. Well, they haven't touched us yet. And they're saying, of course, where will we get the money from? But this is the same government that is building a highway from San Fernando to Mayaro. This is the same government that is building a flying museum over the jail. This is the same government that building a causeway down Diego Martin. So where they get the money from? So how the money will be hard for Rowley, but easy for them? You see logic?
Are you convinced that, Mr. Rowley, let me just turn this across to the PNM for a moment. Are you comfortable with the reduction in VAT from 15 to 12.5%, 1, and 2, the personal allowance up to $72,000, and 3, that if you enforce tax collection, it will make up substantially for this anticipated shortfall?
On all 3, I say yes, but I want to go further and said, and if you look at our manifesto, that at the end of the day, there are too many persons here who do pay taxes.
Yes.
And the people who don't pay taxes are the people who should pay and who could afford to pay.
The big money people.
They squeeze the small man. Oh, they squeeze the small man. But the big guys don't pay at all. On Tuesday, we're having a meeting in St. Joseph, ILP. I should tell you that St. Joseph is not a constituency that we're going to fight. That we're fighting, but we feel we must go there and campaign and tell our members who not to vote for. So we're going there on Tuesday at First Capital Park to talk. You know what we're saying? We will show you public how a minister who bought a house for $14 million had an agreement that the house should go for $10 million so as to escape tax, stamp duty. I mean, at the end of the day, this country is being raped left, right, and center. And in St. Joseph on Tuesday, we shall expose the government for the 10th time for what it's worth.
I continue to be disquieted greatly by what is still being referred to as a plant-like substance, only because there are a couple of issues here. 1, you don't take that long to find out what it is. 2, it got there somehow. 3, I feel the police should have wrapped up their case already. But 4, it involves cover-up.
Oh, sure.
Cover-up is, to me, Richard Nixon, if you speak to anyone who knows him, said my biggest mistake here in Watergate was the cover-up, and a lot of people suffered for it. The cover-up is what we're not hearing about.
And I tell you this, I can understand the police intransigence, the police delay in bringing these things to fruition. For example, a minister holds a hostess breast on a plane. That is 2 years, almost 2 years though. That matter is being investigated. Email gate is being investigated. Prison gate is being investigated. And the plant-like substance is more than 2 months now I've made that public. And is a plant-like substance for the Prime Minister's home. But it's marijuana for Laventille.
Well, the color of your party is green. Maybe you could shed sunlight on
that. All right. I hear you.
The NSC is headed by the Prime Minister. The Commissioner of Police is part of that team. The head of the prisons is part of that team. There are those, one person opined that the Prime Minister should recuse herself, remove herself as leader of this, because that may speak, I'm not saying it does, it may speak to the point you raise, and the wonderment we have as to why this is taking so long. The question is, could there be gentle stepping, glass stepping, being a member of that team, or could there be interference?
I want to tell you this. I was instrumental in moving Dr. Gibbs and his assistant, but I can't remember his name. But the 2 Canadians, I moved them from here. I put the local people, because I felt then, as I still do, that they shouldn't have any foreigners at the head of our police service. But the fact is, when Gibbs was removed, Anand Ramlogan made it quite clear that we should not appoint the Commissioner of Police. Must keep him acting, because if we keep him acting, then he will not be able to be critical of the government, and he'll be kept on his toes. That's what he said. That's what he said. And therefore, this explains, in my view, some of the delay. Otherwise, tell me, why is it we can't bring a conclusion to any single investigation? A lawyer takes some documents from the magistrate court and put in his office. That too It's taken a long time.
Yes.
Every single thing here has taken a long time.
You expressed great displeasure at the manner in which the leader of the opposition was removed from the parliament.
Absolutely. I
gather in this new term you will move to change that.
It is absurd. I argued against it. I have never seen it in my life. There is no way in the Commonwealth this ever happened before.
Nowhere, yes.
Nowhere else.
Couldn't find precedent anywhere. We have exhausted the time. You have been most gracious to give us of your time. Please keep the cans on for a minute. I do want you to address Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the world, because we stream this live and we have a large number of folks who stream this, reminding you two things. One, this interview will be available at ttrn.org. You can go up and watch Mr. Warner and this interview this morning. That's one. But two, I will ask you in conclusion, sir, to give all our listeners a reason, a synopsis as to why they should vote ILP come September the 7th.
Well, I say to you that the ILP is the youngest party. They have tried the PNM, they have tried the UNC, and therefore they have their shortcomings. Each one of them has shortcomings, more the UNC than anybody else. And therefore it's time to give the ILP a chance and move themselves from this seesaw politics I spoke about earlier. And when they want to find out what's wrong with the UNC, all they have to do is to ask Mr. Bosapi Sessa, where did she go wrong? I thank you.
All right, and I thank you for being here. In conclusion, my question to you is, Jack Warner is not worried about extradition.
Not in the least, not in the least.
Jack Warner does not believe he will be seeing the AG for the United States.
Not in my lifetime, nor yours. And you could take that to the bank.
Take it to the bank. Mr. Jack Warner, thank you so much for being here, taking the time to come all the way down with us this morning, honoring your time, and we are truly appreciative.
Thank you very much.
All the best for September 7th, and we will be talking more, I am sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.